Welcome back to Bandwagon Beach. My name is Gennaro. I am the host of this infrequent podcast. And today I'm logging on to get caught up with all of you on a number of different things. I want to talk to you about the streaking San Diego Padres. I want to talk about the NBA play-in tournament that starts tonight. I want to talk about San Diego Football Club, who can't seem to get out of their way. And then I will do a little bit of explaining as far as where I have been and what I've been up to and why you have not heard very much from me outside of a daily newsletter that is mostly just a collection of links, why I've not been doing podcasts or videos or anything of that sort. And hopefully we'll create better plans so that next time it won't be so long in between podcasts. But let's get into it. I want to talk about the San Diego Padres. I'm dying to talk about the San Diego Padres. The whole reason that I'm here talking into a microphone on a system that is, in theory, recording me talking into a microphone is because I want to talk about the San Diego Padres. I also want to test the system and see how good or bad it is compared to other systems that I've used. We're not going to get into all of the technical or the business or anything. Let's just talk about the San Diego Padres. I am absolutely loving the Craig Stammen experience. And I say that as someone who, I'm not going to say I wasn't a believer. No, you know what I will say? I wasn't a believer. I still don't know that I'm totally a believer that you can hire a guy who's never been a manager before and make him the manager of a Major League Baseball team and have that be a successful team. I don't know that I believe in that. I don't know that I believe you can take a guy who was a relief pitcher, not even a closer, like a middle relief pitcher, and make him the captain and the leader of a team and a clubhouse and all of that. I still don't know that I totally would put money down that Craig Stammen is going to be good at this. But a couple weeks into this first season for him, I really like what I see. Speaking of, I just caught a glimpse of myself in the video. If you were watching a video of this, I have a goatee instead of a beard. That has nothing to do with why I was gone. I just screwed up shaving my beard the other day and had to take it down to this until the beard grows back. It's growing back. There's even some stubble. Sorry. Made myself laugh. Had to deal with that. What I like the most about Craig Stammen, like Craig Stammen has been completely set up for success here. If success is winning my favor and having me enjoy him being the manager of my favorite baseball team, in that he appears to be the opposite of Mike Shildt in most ways, at least all the ways that Mike Shildt drove me crazy. Because Mike Shildt, it's not just that he would pick fights with the media and all that stuff. It's that Mike Shildt was like managing out of a rule book. The rule says Manny Machado plays every day, so Manny Machado plays every day. The rule says that Manny Machado hits third or fourth every day, so Manny Machado is going to hit third or fourth every day. The rule says Tatis is our leadoff hitter, so Tatis is going to be our leadoff hitter every day. He's going to be our right fielder every day, as much as humanly possible. And if he's bad, and you as a media member or a fan wonders why he's bad, the answer from Mike Shildt is that you're stupid. That if you just wait long enough, baseball will figure this out. The players will figure this out and stuff will go back to normal. If you just wait, because they're the ball players, trusting the ball players, they're going to do their thing. Craig Stammen's first big out of the box thinking move has been moving Fernando Tatis Jr. to second base for at least 2 days. And this has been a plan. It's part of the reason I like this. This has been planned since the offseason. Fernando Tatis Jr. said he talked to Craig Stammen about this in the offseason, and Stammen presented him with this as a possibility that if Sun Song was not, ready to be the team's backup utility infielder, the same way Jose Iglesias was last year, they didn't have a lot of options. They would need to maybe keep a Mason McCoy or a Tyler Wade or someone like that on the roster. And instead, they decided we don't need to keep any of them on the roster. If we need a shortstop, Bogey gets hurt or he needs a day, Cronenworth can play shortstop. Hell, Manny Machado can play shortstop. But then who's going to play second base? Tatis can play second base. That does seem a little crazy considering he's never done it before. But as everyone points out, he takes ground balls at second base before every game, or it did last year anyway. It seemed like he was doing the same this year. So it's not completely alien and foreign to him. And Stammen said, hey, maybe this gets Tatis's bat going a little bit. And he did go 5 for 9 over 2 games. So it has helped in that regard. But here's why I like it. Hey, it's a move that Mike Schill would never make. Mike Schill would say, you don't screw with a guy's position like that. You don't move him from right field to, which is hilarious because the Padres have moved Jackson Merrill from shortstop to center field, and they moved Xander Bogaerts from shortstop to second base and then back to shortstop. So it's silly to do, but Mike Schill absolutely would have been like, you do Tatis at second base. Were you crazy? And instead, Craig Stammen's like, this guy needs 2 things. One, he needs stuff to be shaken up just enough to get his brain to stop the deep thinking and the spiraling and the looping and all of that. We'll get back to that. And 2, he needs an arm thrown around him. As I think usually the term in clubhouses of like, this guy's struggling a little bit. Let's put an arm around him. That means the veterans, the coaches, check in with him, see how he's doing. If there's something you can do to make him laugh or get him going, like that's on the team to make sure that is done. And that can be hard to do when the player is as mercurial and isolated as Tatis tends to be, or at least has been in the past, and B, when that player is an outfielder. Fernando Tatis Jr. has absolutely spent evenings at Petco Park where for 3 straight hours he stood in the right field and nothing happened outside of his at-bats. That can be boring, that can be isolating, and that is a lot of time to sit around and think. When you are playing second base, that never happens. You're going to get ground balls. You're going to be in on stolen base attempts. You're going to be in on double plays. There's going to be a number of different things that you get involved in, and it's all going to happen quick. So you're going to have to be completely locked in on every single pitch, wondering, is this going to be a rocket coming at my face? And like, I'm not saying Tatis is not locked in right field, but it's different for outfielders. You have a second to figure out, where is that ball going? What direction do I need to run in? And how fast do I need to run there? When you're playing an infield spot, it's a lot more just be ready and let your instincts take over. And that is a spot that you would love to put a player who is thinking too much, because it eliminates the thinking. You can't sit around and think anymore. You have to be locked in for safety, if for no other reason. You have to be locked in. And B, it makes it so much easier for the team to throw their arm around him. It makes it so much easier for Xander Bogaerts to, even just throw Tatis a compliment. Wow, man, great job turning that double play. And now Tatis doesn't feel like he's separate from the team. He feels like he's a part of the team. He feels like he's contributing in a meaningful way. He feels camaraderie, not that he's just like this superstar out in the corner of the outfield making incredible plays and then whipping the ball back into the rest of the team. He feels more like he's part of the team. Does that mean I think Tatis should move to the infield permanently? Absolutely not. Do I think that the second base thing should become a regular habit for Stammen and Tatis? Probably not. But if Tatis is struggling, especially now, and I'll get back to that in a second, if he's struggling, this is a great club to have in the bag. Because the buy-in from Tatis says a lot. It says that he trusts Stammen. But I want to let's talk about trust. Tatis is dealing with a brand new hitting coach, again, Steven Souza Jr. Steven Souza Jr. has never been a hitting coach before. He has helped people with hitting, but he's never been a hitting coach, I believe, at any level. I think he helped the Tampa Bay Rays a little bit, but he wasn't like the hitting instructor, the hitting coach. And he is for the Padres. And I've read some of his quotes where he seemed frustrated. I think Dylan from Letters to AJ actually brought this to my attention. Steven Souza Jr. had a quote where he was talking about how often Tatis kind of changes where he is in the box and what his stance is, what his swing's going to be, and how high his leg kick's going to be. And he was saying that he's frustrated with that. And he thinks that the key to getting more consistency out of Tatis, both throughout a season and season after season after season, is just getting him locked into one. This is where you stand. This is your swing. This is your leg kick. Trust that your athleticism is going to get you where you need to go, and you can make all of the swings you need to make from here. And Tatis still, this season, especially when he was struggling, was a little all over the place. If you were tracking it game to game or even at bat to bat, you would see the leg kick come back and then the leg kick disappear. Sometimes he would be up on the plate. Sometimes he would be far away from the plate. Sometimes he would move up a little bit in the batter's box. Sometimes he'd be all the way in the back corner of the batter's box. So he's still messing around. And part of that has to be because if Steven Souza Jr. tells him something, you need to be doing this, and Tatis does it, and it fails. Tatis has an absolutely catastrophic offensive season. Steven Souza Jr. gets fired, and we never remember his name. We forget about him. But for Tatis, until he gets that stink off him, he becomes, almost like Luis Campusano last year, where it's, oh, he broke his swing. He's got a broken swing. He can't, whatever. So there's more on the line. There's more at stake. I understand he has a long-term contract. Money's not exactly the same motivator it would be maybe for other players. But Tatis understands that whether or not he is successful with his swing is a thing that people are going to remember about him. It's going to be part of his legacy. It's not going to be part of Steven Souza Jr.'s legacy unless it really works and works for a good long time. So the putting Tatis at second base is, and seeing that he trusts Stammen enough to do that is great. It's also a like, hey, just trust your instincts, trust your athleticism, trying to hammer that home on the field so that it can be hammered home at the plate. It's a good move. It's a good, I understand that it could have gone sideways. I think the way that it could have gone sideways was if Stammen did it without prepping Tatis, without talking with him about it in the offseason to get buy-in. And if Tatis wasn't already, taking the reps and doing the work to potentially play there before the games because he likes doing it, giving him something he likes to do that lets him show off his athleticism and plays into his instincts more than the robotic nature of ball goes here, run here. It's all great. And I do think it's helping Tatis at the plate a little bit and maybe helping him to trust Souza a little bit more. It's just an outside the box thought. And my fear with Craig Stammen was that he was going to be completely vanilla, that he was going to be Mike Schilt, but softer, that he was going to do whatever the 100-year-old managing book says to do in every situation. If you've ever played poker, blackjack, cards, there are players that are like, when I have this hand, the book says do this. And managing is a lot like cards, poker, whatever, where it's not just making the decision based on what you know, it's making the decision based on your gut and understanding when there's an opportunity to push and when there is a situation where you need to stay more conservative. And I just think Stammen is doing a very good job of understanding when he can push and understanding when he needs to be conservative. The fact that Manny Machado got a day off in April, not a day, a DH, get him off his feet, as Mike Schilt used to say every time Manny was a DH. Just a day sitting on the bench. Sit on the bench for a day, Manny. That I heard Jesse and Tony say, like, look, Manny was worn down by the end of last season. He knows he was worn down by the end of last season. That was necessary to get his buy-in, for him to feel that in his own body last season. Maybe that buy-in doesn't happen if he doesn't get worn down. Maybe. But everything from this team shows you that the players trust the manager. That is an incredible thing to say. Like, we're 2 or 3 weeks into Craig Stammen's career as a manager. He has never managed these players before, except for spring training, and half of them were gone for half of spring training. So to see them trust Craig Stammen this much, and to see him thinking things through more than the book says I do this, therefore I do this, it just heartens me. It's lovely. It's kind of the opposite of what we saw with the players and Sleepy Bob Melvin, where they were pushing up against him. It's a little bit the opposite of what we saw with Mike Schilt, because Mike Schilt was not willing to do anything except what the book says you do, and that's kind of how he was trying to earn the respect of veteran players. Hey, look, I do everything that the book says to do. You can trust me. I'm not a crazy guy who's going to try stuff. And so, and I don't think with Andy Green or with Jace Tingler, they had that kind of buy-in from the players to try different things without being like very concerned about, like, what are you doing in my career? And maybe it's because he was their teammate. Maybe he's just that kind of leader. Maybe AJ Preller has been right all along, or maybe it's just too small of a sample size and we don't know. But some of this winning is vibes based. And some of those vibes are coming off, hey, you know what? Stammen's got some good ideas. Maybe we should listen to Stammen. Look at the buttons he's pushing. It's working. So I love all of those things. It could easily come crashing down, but there's been weird moments, right? There's been weird bullpen decisions. There was that one time where Morejone's getting blown up, and he stops and looks at the dugout like, "Are you coming to get me?" And Stammen didn't for like 30 seconds, and they just stared at each other. And then finally, Stammen, it was really weird. Even Don and Mud on the TV broadcast were like, "What the heck is this? What is happening?" There are weird moments. There are things that Stammen is figuring out in real time that most guys figure out when they're managing in the Dominican League or in single A ball or double A ball as they work their way up. Stuff that Mike Schilt figured out how to do without incident a long time ago. But I don't think Craig Stammen is just here to check off the boxes and do whatever AJ Preller tells him to do. I think he's here to be creative and to find creative solutions to complicated problems and complicated issues. And so far, that's working out well. Xander Bogaerts playing well. That's great. Luis Campusano. I mentioned Dylan from Letters to AJ. He wrote a whole article about this, I think on Friday, about how, everyone thought that the Padres were nuts going into this season saying, yes, Luis Campusano is our backup catcher, and we trust him to be our backup catcher. Luis Campusano has been a fantastic backup catcher. He has, once he got over his cold spell of 0 for over 34 or whatever he was up to, he has looked more like the hitter that we saw 3 or 4 years ago. He's hitting well with some pop. He's also been a really, really capable catcher. And kind of I don't want to call him a master or a savant, but he's been very good at the ABS stuff. He's been just fantastically good at the ABS stuff. And that factors into his defense and how he manages the pitching staff. And no one seems to be having any issues throwing to Luis Campusano, and he doesn't seem to be having any issues defensively. And the offense is there. Like there is a world, you could talk me into a world in which, like, a year or two from now, Luis Campusano is the starter for the San Diego Padres. I'm back there. And if you had told me a few months ago that that's where I would be, I wouldn't believe you. I didn't think it was possible. And it's only possible because Stammen was thinking outside the box, going, hey, I know everyone else has written this guy off. 2 other managers have said, like, no, this guy's not good enough to be an MLB catcher. I've thrown to him. I'm telling you he's good enough to be an MLB catcher. And I'm telling you that if we trust him to catch, he's going to hit. And he was freaking right, man. So far, he's been right. So that's all good. The bullpen's been inconsistent. Part of that has been Stammen's usage. Part of that has just been weird stuff like Morejon getting blown up the other day in what I think was still a Padres win. Not worried about the bullpen, especially once Jason Adam came back. I know Jeremiah Estrada left. I know that's a little worrying. I know his miles per hour were down. This bullpen is so loaded that as long as Mason Miller is healthy, I think the bullpen's not going to be a problem. Once again, I feel like I've become the guy on social media who celebrates every time Kyle Hart comes out and dominates for like 2.5 innings. But Kyle Hart has been awesome. Just a big fan of the bullpen. The starting rotation is worrying, right? It's been worrying. It's not getting any less worrying. I think heading into the season, I was saying, wow, people are really counting on a lot from Joe Musgrove, and they are. But Nick Pivetta just left with elbow stiffness. Last time that this happened in spring training, I think he skipped a start. So we'll see how long it lasts. We'll see how healthy he can be over the course of the season. But Nick Pivetta's season and Joe Musgrove's season are about to become very intertwined with one another. If Pivetta has to go down, if Musgrove can get healthy enough and be like 80% of the pitcher he once was, then maybe the Padres can survive. I do think Ruben Niebla is a really great pitching coach, but he's the type who he rolls stuff out there and it doesn't really work at first. And then he figures out how to tinker to get it to work. Darren Balsley was this way as well. So like Marquez looked awful when he first came out and then he looked better. Walker Buehler looked pretty bad. And every start he looks a little better. And if all of these guys are going to just continually get a little bit better each start, that's incredible. And that would be a huge testament to Ruben Niebla's just talent. I find it hard to believe that this team can win 90 games with Walker Buehler and German Marquez starting like 50 plus games between the two of them. But we'll see. There's nothing we can do about the starting rotation right now. And I don't think the Padres even necessarily have the pieces to go trade for another decent starting pitcher. And I know Giolito is out there and people mention him all the time. I guess he's an option. Adding more starters to this rotation that are at least league average seems like it would be helpful because they're just running very low on. Sorry, my screen locked up. They're just running very low on talent and healthy talent in the starting rotation. That's the only real worrying thing that I have about the Padres right now, because it really does feel like Craig Stammen and his group of coaches here are going to get every last ounce of performance that they can from the healthy players on this team. And that's, I don't know. It's just, it's good. Look, it's a winning streak. You're coming off a 4-game sweep of the very terrible Colorado Rockies. So it's hard for the vibes to not be high right now. It's also, the Mariners will be a really good test because the Rockies are clearly terrible. And as much as I like a lot of the stuff the Pirates are doing, I get the feeling the Pirates might also still be terrible. The Red Sox are going to be better than this, but they are scuffling right now. So the Mariners are not scuffling. The Mariners are playing pretty well. And Josh Naylor, kind of similar to Tatis, has been playing with his swing. And I think he went back to his old swing last night, hit 2 home runs. So it's going to be a good test. We're going to walk out of the Padres Mariners series with a much better idea of if this has any chance of being a playoff team, or if the wheels are going to fall off, and if the winning streak was more about the opposition than anything, and if the Padres are just kind of a middle of the road team that can beat up on lesser teams, which there's no harm in that if that's what they are. I will say I'm aware of the John Browner controversy. Kaplan and crew, I saw the video. I saw his half-hearted apology. I saw Alex Padilla's explanation. I don't want to talk about it right now. Maybe another day. I don't know. I have thoughts. They're not unique or different from most other people's thoughts. But I'll mention it because someone was probably bound to. John Browner and I, we used to host a podcast together. I do consider him a friend. I consider Alex Padilla a friend. I have thoughts. I don't need to talk about everything. All right, moving on. We are 25 minutes into this. I'm going to try and make things go a little faster. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on Padres, but now we can go a little faster. The NBA play-in starts tonight. If you are unfamiliar with the play-in, there are 3 games for each conference. The 7 and 8 seed play each other, and the 9 and 10 seed play each other. The loser of the 9 and 10 game goes home. The winner plays the loser of the 7-8 game for the 1 seed. The winner of the 7-8 game gets the 2 seed. Hope that makes sense. Tonight we have, and I'm not going to go any deeper than that as far as NBA playoffs go, because I'm trying to encourage myself to come back and do another podcast between now and the start of the NBA playoffs. I think would be Monday or Tuesday next week. Tonight, we have 2 games. The Charlotte Hornets play the Miami Heat in a loser goes home 9-10 matchup. And the Portland Trail Blazers play the Phoenix Suns in a 7-8 matchup, which means the winner advances. They become the number 2 seed. And the loser has to wait to see who their opponent will be tomorrow to potentially get to play against the number 1 seed, which in the West would be OKC is your number 1 seed. The San Antonio Spurs is number 2 seed. I'm just going to say what my ideal matchups would be coming out of all this. By the way, the 7-8 tomorrow in the Eastern Conference is the Orlando Magic, who are terrible, and the Philadelphia 76ers, who are sometimes great when everyone's healthy, but Joel Embiid had appendicitis, and we have no idea when he's coming back. So they might be fine. They might be terrible. It's kind of hard to know. So I'm just going to throw out there what I ideally want to come from this. Number 1, Hornets and Heat is very, very interesting tonight. That's the game I'm definitely locked in on tonight because A, it's a win or go home game, and B, the Charlotte Hornets are having a very interesting season where they started the season terrible. I mean, really, really bad. And then they kind of figured themselves out. And for the last half to almost 2/3 of the NBA season, they've been one of the better teams in the NBA statistically. They're still in a winner go home game in the play, and they'll probably be better next year, but they need this game. Otherwise, this season, which has been really great, becomes nothing but like a stepping stone to next season. I'm sure they would like to get into the actual playoffs and make a little bit of noise and prove that they deserve to be there. The Miami Heat remain one of these confusing teams that's never really that good in the regular season, but the second it gets to the playoffs, they're just like light years better than what they have been. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Heat can kind of turn that knob up tonight against the Charlotte Hornets and compete with them. I'm hoping Charlotte wins because my ideal situation in the East is, and I don't even know if this is entirely possible. I think the Hornets would need to, I think I have this wrong. What I was saying is ideally I want the Hornets to play the Pistons and the 76ers to play the Celtics, but whoever wins tonight becomes the number 2 seed. No, whoever wins tonight has to then play. Got it. All right. So this is possible. So the Hornets can still play, I think. Anyway, ideal. Hornets, Pistons, great matchup. 2 teams that got into a really big brawl a few weeks ago and still really hate each other. They're very different kinds of teams. The Pistons, the number 1 overall seed, have basically been toughness, physicality, defense focused all year. Meanwhile, the Hornets the ball flies all over the place. They shoot a million threes. Their offense is unstoppable. Would be a really good clash if that could be a series. And then the Sixers are good enough if Embiid could come back, get healthy, even maybe if not, that they could really kind of test and push the Boston Celtics, who, yeah, Jason Tatum's back. The Celtics look great. Also, Jason Tatum's back. He's not totally himself. There's an avenue there where the Sixers, without Embiid, but definitely with Embiid, can challenge and push the Celtics. And it's always fun to have a series where it's like Boston, Philly, because the fan bases are so close and it's a quick train ride and they hate each other. So that's my ideal out of the East. My ideal out of the West is that the Suns win tonight and that the Warriors eventually win the other spot. I have to try and figure out if this is possible again. I'll just pretend it is because I think I did this before the show. I would like the Suns to play the Thunder. I don't know if that's true. I think whoever wins tonight gets the number 2 seed, faces against the number 2 seed, so put them up against the Spurs. That would still be a great series. And then I had Warriors Spurs just because Steph Curry going against Wembanyama and the Spurs, the old team against the young team. There'd be a lot of fun moments in that. I don't even know if those are possible, but if they are, those are my ideal matchups. I don't really have much interest in seeing the Trailblazers or the Clippers in the playoffs. Not because I like the Clippers. They kind of gave up on their season and they've had just enough injuries that I don't think they can compete with anyone in the playoffs. The Trailblazers are just too young and too inconsistent at this point. As for the teams I left out of the East, the Heat, I just want them to not win because they're going up against the Hornets. And then the Magic have just been a horrible disappointment all year long. No one wants to see the Magic play. All right, moving on to soccer-ish. San Diego Football Club. This time last year, I was spending a lot of my time talking about and thinking about San Diego Football Club. I have been watching. I've watched, I think, every game that I've been able to. There's been a couple where I haven't been home for one reason or another. But every game I've been able to, I've watched. I've not been following quite as closely as I did last year. But I do know that SDFC has not won a game in over a month. And they have picked up a red card, I think, in 6 straight matches. I think Christopher McVeigh has maybe himself picked up a red card in 4 straight matches. The red card thing is a real problem. I mean, it's a real problem. You can't play down a man, and you can't play with a player as good and as important as Christopher McVeigh in and out of the lineup. One game he's in for half the game, he gets a red card. The next game he's out. You can't. And I don't really know what needs to change from the team's perspective to stop that from happening. McVeigh does play too rough, and he does play too emotional. Manu Dua plays reckless, but he's also 19. This year, opposing teams have done a better job of kind of baiting him into making reckless plays. That being said, some of these red cards are a little much. Some of these red cards feel a little over the top. When McVeigh got the red card the other day in the last SDFC game, I didn't really get it. It looked like he gave the guy kind of a little shove in the back, but he didn't look like it looked like the guy fell down when he felt McVeigh's hand on his back. It didn't look like he was pushed. Anyway, they have to figure it out. I don't know if this is the league pushing against them. I don't know if the refs have a problem with them. What I think is happening, at least when it comes to McVeigh, is that there's so much shit he's doing that's not getting called that when he finally does something that can get called, they're like, okay, well, you've been pulling this shit for 45 minutes now. So it should have been a yellow. It's going to be a red. I don't like when games are reffed like that, but sometimes they are. I don't know. It's not as I was saying last year, following this team, I'm still kind of a new soccer fan. So sometimes I feel a little out of my depth. trying to go, well, this is why this is happening. It's up to them to fix it. I don't have any ideas for them. It's up to them to fix it. But they need to fix it. I also saw that, I think it was Tom Krasovich wrote an article in the Union Tribune this morning, essentially about Chucky Lozano. I've noticed that there are a lot of international articles coming out about Chucky Lozano, about how he's missing his opportunity to play for the Mexican team, probably for the last time, and he's missing an opportunity to play for the Mexican team in Mexico. It seems like there's some sort of game of chicken going on here where STFC is trying to find a place for him, but he doesn't seem interested in leaving, despite the fact that he's not playing. And the fact that he's not playing is making it so Mexico doesn't want to add him to the national team for the... I don't know. But you knew two things. You knew that if things did not go well for STFC, that the Chucky noise would get loud. I think it's starting to get loud. I don't think anyone's like, oh man, Mal Pellegrino's doing a terrible job. Like, everyone knows the issue is the red cards. And I don't know that Chucky is actually in any way a solution to the red card problem, as someone who tends to pick up at least a lot of yellows and play a little recklessly and a little rough sometimes. But you knew it would get loud when they went a month without winning a game. And that's where they are. The other thing you knew was that eventually this coaching staff, this franchise, this organization was going to have to learn how to pull themselves out of a tailspin. Here you go. It's your first real challenge. Like last year, there was challenges and they passed them, but it was like, hey, the challenge is Chucky Lozano acting up in the locker room. How are you going to deal with it? Deal with it this way. Boom, that worked. Great job. You pushed the right button. Sometimes every button you push is the wrong button. And you have to figure out how to get out of that without relying on the fact that I can just press this button and everything will be solved. So they have to dig deep and they have to come up with a solution to this problem that is better than it'll eventually go away, or we just got to be better. I don't know if that means different players. I don't know if that means McVay has to sit for a while and they're just like, you're too dangerous to put on the pitch right now. I don't know. But something needs to change, because right now they're getting dangerously close to doing this weird thing where they were maybe the best or second best team in MLS in their first season. And everyone's like, well, that's not how expansion teams usually operate. And in the second year, they look a little bit more like an expansion team. I don't know why that would happen that way. Outside of just they got lucky in year one, I don't think that's true. I think they have a great system. I think they're really talented. And I think they need to avoid having this be a lost season and have people go like, well, there's their expansion year. I think they need to pull themselves out of this tailspin. And I think they need to finish in the MLS playoffs again, because otherwise it's gonna get kind of ugly. Luckily, the fans still seem to be showing up, supporting, loving them. I see the merch everywhere. I'm sure the viewership numbers are great. Hopefully, but everyone's sitting around going, okay, you spent last year going, how lucky we are to have Mikey Varas, how lucky we are to have this group of men running this team, because look how smart they are. They're taking the league by storm. You got to pull yourself out of this if you want to maintain that reputation as the wunderkind. All right. That is enough sports for now. If you were here for sports takes, I'm out of them. That's all I've written down on my little rundown here. I'm going to talk about me for a few minutes, and then I'm going to get out of here, and then hopefully I'm going to come back and do another podcast later this week or early next week, and maybe it'll be with somebody and not just me talking to myself for 45 minutes to an hour. But let's talk about me for a minute, because if I don't, I think it raises questions. So you have not seen or heard from me in about 2 months, almost 2 months. During that time, I talked with a few different people about joining me on this podcast, either as a regular co-host, or there was 2 or 3 people that were like, maybe we'll rotate through. This person will come on once a week. This person will come on every other week. Sometimes I'll do solo shows. I had ideas. The reason those didn't come to fruition, or I guess I'll say haven't come to fruition, is I've done a very poor job of following up. Part of that is I've been dealing with a lot of real life stuff. I had a close family member pass unexpectedly. And that is creating some questions about what comes next on one side of my family. I also, on the other side of my family, am dealing with some health issues for elderly family members that I'm also very close with. And it's turning into conversations about elder care, whether or not they need to be put into a home that has 24/7 elder care, or at least moved from one side of the country to the other so that I can help with whatever care that they need. But all of that is just, it's bullshit. It takes up my time. It takes up my focus. And it has kept me away from creating content with my time as I used to do. I've also been trying to find real work. And to be honest with you, trying to find real work outside of sports media. I have worked in sports media for about 15 years now, professionally, full time. And I'm not going to say I've soured on the industry, but I'm just looking to do something else at this point. And that's been a little bit of a struggle because when you've been doing sports media for 15 years, people think that what you do is sports media. And when you apply for other things that is not necessarily sports media, they often look at your resume and go, why would you want this job? It's not sports media. So that's been a little bit of struggle. And everything else, like literally everything else, is on fire in a bad way, not on fire. And like this guy caught fire and he's making every three. Geopolitics, the economy, climate change, inflation, the job market. Even if I was looking for something in sports media, like it's all been bad. And there's a good chance that it's all going to get worse. And so all these things tie in together, right? All the bad things that are happening in the world and the country. Me trying to find a job outside of my industry with the wrong kind of resume. And after a year of trying to start my own sports media company and having that end the way that it did, all of this has led me to a familiar place, but a place that I haven't been in a really long time, which is struggling with depression. And I've known for a while that if I did a podcast, I needed to talk about this part. And this is probably what has kept me from doing a podcast for a while now. And I don't want to lie to people and be like, everything's great, everything's awesome, everything's wonderful. But I'm not looking for pity. And I don't want to bring people down. But the reason I'm talking about this on this podcast right now is I've had multiple men come up to me and tell me that, they only went to therapy after hearing me talk about going to therapy and how much it changed their lives. I know that there are men out there that struggle with depression and struggle to, get out of bad cycles and struggle to get up and make good and healthy choices for them and their mental health. And you're not alone. It's, it can be hard and it can suck. But I've struggled with depression since 30 years, on and off. I've had a good run, the last few years of it not taking over my brain entirely most of the time. But it's been hard lately. It's been hard to get out of my rut, and it's been hard to not hide. It's been hard to not hide from this podcast, hide from this audience. It's been hard to not hide from myself and my family, and to try and mute stuff with drugs and alcohol. Not that I'm an addict, but I understand that sometimes I am opening up a beer to quiet the noises in my head. And that's not the healthiest way of dealing with it, because, then you wake up and the noises are right back and they're just as loud as they were before. So part of me doing this podcast is getting back on the horse, creating content and doing a podcast. It has become something of a normal rhythm for me. And I know a big part of why it has not been is because I've been hiding, and I know that hiding is not the right thing for me to do right now. I know it's not the right thing for anyone who's struggling with depression to do right now. You need to do the opposite. You need to open yourself up. You need to be vulnerable. You need to reach out to people, and you need to get back into the rhythm of doing things that you would normally be doing if you were not sitting around with all the thoughts inside your own head. So hopefully this is podcast 1 of a new rhythm, and I get back into creating content more regularly, and that helps me push back to where I was as far as being in a good mental state. And hopefully that means you'll hear from me again soon with more sports talk. And God, I would talk about politics, but it changes every 5 seconds. Maybe I'll just get into health talk, because while my mental health has been suffering in the last 2 months, I think I've dropped about 15 pounds, and I've gotten to the point where I can probably run, almost 10 miles like flat out without slowing down for a break or anything. And I've got a new bike, and I've started going on longer rides. Like from a physical health perspective, things have been good. From a mental health perspective, I need to stop hiding. So thank you if you made it to the end of this podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for dealing with some talk about myself for the last 10 minutes of this podcast. It's not my favorite thing to talk about. I would much rather go back to talking about the Padres and such, and hopefully there will be a lot of that in the future. The funny thing is, I usually around this time of year, I do get on a podcast with John Browner, and we talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs, but I think I'm going to skip that this time. Maybe I'll find someone else who wants to talk about the NBA playoffs, and we'll go from there. But until then, which again, hopefully is a few days, a week at most, my name is John Gennaro. This is Bandwagon Beach. Thank you so much for listening.